Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the Dragons and Art Den. I am your hostess, Lisa, and this is I Am 2, episode 5. So it is great to be here today with my guest, Erin, and I'd like to say before her and I get going, I was thinking this morning about what I get to do here. And it's like, do you ever have conversations with somebody that was like so great? And you're like, oh, I wish I could have recorded that and then just shared it with everybody. That's what I get to do. So, my special guest, my friend, my yoga instructor, Erin. She is as I just said, a yoga instructor, and she specializes in therapeutic yoga. And I would like to say that it is absolutely amazing. It has helped me immensely already, and I have heard from others too feedback about how you've helped them. So thank you, Erin, for joining me, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. Huge fan of your channel. I love the series that you're putting on there, and I'm really honored and grateful to get to be here today and to be part of the interesting conversation and talk a little bit about yoga therapy and some interesting, curious topics I'm sure we'll get into in this conversation today. So, really excited to be here.
Well, that's one of the things that I want to say. Erin gets so excited. One of the, I know a few people who get excited about fascia, and Erin is one of them. And she's also very knowledgeable and gets excited about the polyvagal and anatomy and helping the body, the system, the mind through yoga. And yeah, I will have the link in the bottom here in the description of Erin's site, and she's having classes on Wednesdays. Yes,
Yes,
they
Wednesday
are
morning.
online. So hopefully we can, and that's, yeah, Wednesday mornings, Pacific Standard Time, right?
Yep,
That's what
Pacific
we're
Standard Time at 9:30 a.m.
beautiful. So follow the link, sign up, and we'll see you at yoga. So anyway, Erin, out of all the things that you love, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, Lisa, don't get me started. Oh my God, we have so many great things we could talk about, including a couple little tidbits we were just throwing back and forth, talking about piezoelectric charge before class might be a good one for us to get into today.
Yeah, yes. Do, I don't know how to. Do you want to just dive into what piezoelectric energy is for anybody who may not know?
So a piezoelectric charge, and I mean, don't get me wrong, this I'm sure many physicists out there would like to, throw in the comments below a more, complex full variation of this. Please feel free. But to break it down into really simple terms, a piezoelectric charge tends to happen when molecular bonds are stretched. So when we put pressure either to pull molecules apart from each other or compress them together, it actually causes an electric charge, which is called a piezoelectric charge, which happens inside our fascia. A piezoelectric charge is not the electricity that we would usually think about in the body. When most people think about electricity, we think about the nervous system and the way the nervous system sends electrical currents to both sense and control the body, and being able to send electricity signals up into the brain to tell us about what's happening inside and outside, as well as use electricity back through the nervous system to then control motor functions and all of these types of things. The piezoelectric energy in the body is completely different. I mean, we have so many ways that we generate and utilize electricity in the body. The conversation has grown well past just the nervous system information anymore. And we think about the fascia, right? Fascia is the body's connective tissue. It's what gives the shape and form to the whole body, and it contains the entire movement potential of the body. The fascia doesn't move the body. The fascia is the form that allows movement to happen. And everybody always kind of has a difference, a hard time understanding the difference between muscle and fascia. They aren't the same things, but they live in the same space. They're very intimately connected, as is all of our tissues in the body. All of our tissues they live inside the environment of the fascia. And to give a quick description for people out there who this is very simplified, don't get me wrong. If we were to go into the full anatomy of fascia, we'd be here a lot longer today. But essentially, as far as myofascia is concerned, most of the time when we hear the topic of fascia being discussed, we're specifically discussing myofascia, which is the fascia of the musculature. And there's, kind of a different, different layers of it, different functions of it. But to give a very simple idea, you could think of it like a whole bunch of guys pulling on a rope. Sorry, a whole bunch of people pulling on a rope. And you could think about the rope being attached to something. And we'll, maybe use our bicep as an example here. Right? The bicep muscle is this guy right here. Its action is to pull the forearm towards the shoulder like this. So when it contracts, this happens at the elbow. Now, the muscle is here. And if it was the only muscle, it wouldn't control any movement. The reason it controls movement is because all that muscle is holding on to a piece of fascia, or millions of them, right? And the rope, so to speak, goes all the way past the joint and anchors somewhere else in the body. So that when the muscle fibers here pull, it's pulling on a rope that's attached to these bones that make action through the joints. So we have this incredible relationship that's happening where, yes, muscle's the mover, but if you just put it in a petri dish, it's red jelly that does this, right? You embed that muscle into fascia and now add something to hold on to. Now movement is possible because now its action can move the substance of the body, the actual fascia itself. So all cellular structure lives inside the matrix of the fascia and is embedded into the fascia. And so, the muscle cells, they're getting a lot of nervous system electricity to tell them what to do. But the fascia, it's one thing. It's like a tiny strand. It looks almost like a microscopic spider web, except it's woven into all of these different layers and structures. If you were to take all the other tissue out of your body that isn't fascia, you would basically be exactly you, but you'd be like a hollow silvery web of you. Every detail would be there, every organ, every blood vessel, every muscle fiber, muscle group, everything would be represented, but it would be this kind of shimmering, silvery, hollow representation. I kind of think of it like when you see the exoskeleton of a bug. All the details are there, but it's hollow, right? All the other stuff is missing. And this is what the fascial structure looks like in the body. And because it's all one thing and it has these really tight molecular bonds, it can respond as one structure faster than the nervous system can control movement because of piezoelectric charge. And so if I start moving this way, well, all of the fascia on this side of my body, right, it's getting stretched. Its molecular bonds are pulling against each other, and all the ones on this side are getting a little bit of compression. And so they generate this piezoelectric charge, which travels through the entire system because the fascia is one thing woven everywhere. So the charge from that piezoelectric pressure instantaneously informs the entire fascial system about where we are in gravity. And that informs the nervous system, which really helps us to control stabilizing in space. If it was just the nervous system doing all of that work, there'd be many movements that happen too fast for the nervous system to be able to take in the pressure and send back the motor response. But because we have so many nervous system receptors embedded in the fascia, right, the fascia will instantly respond to the pressure and the nervous system will instantly catch up and support it.
So when you're talking about the fascia and the threads and you saw an exoskeleton. I saw a fiber optic highway.
Oh, yeah, great description. Fiber optics is a great analogy to fascia.
And for me, muscle memory is the memory, and fascia holds memory. And I don't know if I was discussing it with you or my first guest, Allison, or just random thoughts. Anyway, that it's actually the fascia that holds memory. And then it sends the signals to our brain, and then our brains uh, decipher the story, I guess you could say.
Yeah, in a really interesting sense, almost recreate the story in the nervous system in the brain. Right? It's almost
Recreate.
like a reading and recreation of in the mind. But you're absolutely correct. And I saw your interview with Allison. Allison loved it. Great interview. And I love that Allison shared with us as well the fact that trauma and traumatic memory is stored in fascia. And it really is a kind of revolutionary breakthrough in the trauma world is the recognition that trauma has so much to do with tissue. And you can do all of this work on working through things mentally and making peace and making logic with it and all of these things. But if you can't learn how to find where the trauma is stored in the body and release it, it's always kind of like you're working against yourself, right? It's like we're constantly managing the symptoms of a nervous system out of control. And the reality is the nervous system and the fascia are so intimately integrated. And so if you're holding trauma in the fascia, right, that's always affecting the nervous system, especially anytime that fascia becomes triggered, right? And there's many ways that that can happen from touch, from movement, from smell, from memory, right? There can all these things that trigger it. But really, it's the area where it's held in the fascia that is bringing it into that reality in the body, making it a felt experience. And when we can find it in the fascia and release it, incredible results they're showing in the research. And they call this the body, like body first or the bottom up approach, right? A
Oh,
top
I
down
love it.
would be, and don't get me wrong, still very effective, still a very good part of therapy, counseling, talk therapy, things like this. But the big revolutionary, I think, kind of step forward in this decade is really the acknowledgement that you can't heal the mind without healing the body because they aren't different things. And our
You said
fascia is what's teaching that to us.
you said something after class on Tuesday or Wednesday that and said something about how women generally hold their trauma, their emotional trauma in their arms. And wow, um, today I am wearing my copper sleeve because of carpal tunnel. And I'm watching you do this, talking about the fascia and how it's been all connected up to here. And I'm like, ah, the trauma in the arms. And oh, yeah, I haven't been drinking enough water.
Well, the interesting thing is it's usually like life, not such a simple thing, right? I mean, the body's a very complex place. And so, sometimes we can have things where we're like, oh, that's an injury. And everything we do to try and heal that injury isn't working because it's a trauma that's being stored there. Sometimes it reverses. I know I had a very severe injury brought me to yoga. And so after many years of yoga training, I very much embraced the emotional connection between tissue and experience of pain in the body. And so I had this spot. I very badly shattered a whole side of my rib cage one time. And it was a very long recovery. And grateful, it's something I'm grateful for. It brought me to yoga, which is what allowed me to get back to a normal life. And so I've learned to be very nice to my rib cage, very patient with it, very supportive of what it needs. It's an ongoing thing that I'll work with forever. It's always had this one spot where like I'd see a massage therapist or an osteo or anytime, everybody always seems to like gravitate to this spot. And every time they touch it, I start profusely sweating. I turn green. My heart rate goes way up. I like literally, I'm a puddle on the bed. And the last time I had somebody work on it was a phenomenal osteopath. And so I'm prepared for this. I can breathe. All my yogic skills come in. I breathe through it. I practice compassion. I realize that's my emotional baggage spot. And it was very traumatized. And now, when it's touched, understandably so, because it went through so much pain for so many years, it really doesn't like to be touched. And so, when it does, I'm just kind to it and we work on it together. And my osteopath was like, "You mean this?" And she poked it, and it's like, and the sweat starts pouring out. My heart rate goes up like, oh, it's so high. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's okay. Okay, friend, we're working through this together." She pokes it again and she's like, "I would like you to realize, Erin, that not everything is emotional in the body." And what I had was a sympathetic nerve ganglion that had been actually trapped up in the scar tissue where a whole bunch of bones got broken together kind of over my sternum and then fused that way and sealed that way. And I had a sympathetic nerve ganglion that got trapped in there in the process. And it was all trapped in the fascia had hardened so bad around the scarring from the break that this kind of little floaty nerve ganglia got sucked up in and pinched there. And because it was pinched,
Oh,
it was constantly firing. And then when it would get touched, it would reverberate through my autonomic nervous system, hence the
warning.
sweating, the elevated. And so I'm not talking like for a year or two, I'm talking like for 10 years. I allowed people to do that to me. I mean, like, no, one day I'm going to process this trauma and finally let it go out of my body. And actually, she picked that nerve ganglion free and it let go. And it was like suddenly he turned the lights on and the world was a different color. Everything was so different. And I was so instantaneously calm. And I had a hilarious moment of, oh my God, I labeled that trauma, but actually it was just a poor trapped sympathetic ganglion stuck in scar tissue, causing me all that stress that I had learned to use yoga to regulate back to normal against. And, I've had other areas where there was trauma stored. And it wasn't in the ribs that were broken, it was in different areas of my body. And it was actually those areas that I never noticed. I had no nice conversations with them. That poor pinched nerve in there sure got a lot of my self talk and self love. But actually, the area that needed it just went totally unnoticed. I just cut it off from my awareness. I never talked to it, I never connected with it. And it turned out that that was where the trauma was stored. And when I finally found it and had a release, I wasn't profusely sweating with an elevated heart rate. I was crying uncontrollably without even really feeling sad. It was this weird response, a very emotional response that came out. And that was actually a breakthrough moment in my path for healing. So, it's always amazing the way the body interacts with injury, with traumatic memory, and the two together, right? I work a lot with people with chronic pain. And, I always am a big advocate of classifying chronic pain as trauma because the effects that it has long term of trying to cope with that pain, of trying to balance yourself in relationships, in society, and work responsibilities, and still be able to take care of a struggling, suffering body, it produces its own kind of trauma, which now where do we hold that trauma? And so it can
Oh,
get very complex, right? It can
I
get
can
really
totally
all of
attest
it,
to that. Yeah.
injury, the dehydration, the trauma, the joys, the fears, all of it is represented in the fascia. And so learning to use the fascia as a tool for awareness, right, is revolutionary both from a physical healing standpoint and a mental health healing standpoint. And I believe that, those two are really kind of just two sides of the same coin.
Well, you mentioned the trauma from pain. Um, as you know, I had surgery to reduce a lot of my pain. And now there's still the healing process, which has its own things, but the pain that I experienced before, it's not there anymore like that. And I look back at it and it's like, wow, how did I function? And wow, that was something. And my nervous system was freaking out for a really good reason. And, thank you, body, for letting me know.
Well, and thank you, Lisa, for listening, because a lot of people don't listen to those signals from their body. And a lot of people just assume, oh, I'm getting old and things just get more painful the longer you live, and it's just going to get worse until I die. And right, and people don't realize that this is such an intelligent, incredibly intelligent system. Just the fascia alone, and understanding how intelligent it is and how much sensing it can do and how much electricity it can generate, right? And these piezoelectric charges, we're not just thinking about, oh, just a little zap of energy down this fiber optic cable, which it absolutely does, but it does more than that. It generates fields, right? Piezoelectric charges generate an actual field, and this is a field that all of us have. And these are highly sensitive fields that reach out into the environment and provide us information about what's going on around us. And we have fields being generated out of our fascia. We have electric fields being generated out of our heart. We have electric fields being generated out of our pineal gland, right? We are a field generation machine. And if you take a look at where is all of this conductivity coming from, right? You have to be highly conductive substance to generate electric fields. And it's because we humans are highly conductive beings, because the substances in our fascia, right? Everybody always just talks about, ask an anatomy textbook. Well, the structure of your fascia is it's X amount of collagen, it's X amount of elastin, it's X amount of reticulin, it has these types of cells in it, and everything else is basically water, except it's called ground substance, because if you just had water, it would drip out of you. So we have binding molecules in the water that make it sticky and hold it together and in the fascia. I mean, like your basic anatomy textbook version of the constituents of the extracellular matrix, which is basically your fascia. Everything that's not cells is most of your cells are made of fascia too. They just have intracellular fascia. Right? But in reality, that water component of the fascia is truly amazing. And it's really more like a liquid crystal. Inside the fascia, what our water becomes is liquid crystal, and it is conductive. And it's why we can generate these fields. It's why we can send fields outward from our body. And it's why we can interact with each other's fields. And if you are walking towards another human being, when you're about 6 feet away from them, your brain will automatically register their heart rate. It's part of how we gauge, are we safe or not safe? It's how we connect with people, right? It's
I want
part
to be able to know that here, but know that, be able to identify that. I want to
it's
be one
not,
of those people that can,
we're not like, oh, this person's, oh, your blood pressure's a little high today, at least. No, we can't
it
register,
might be.
but we do in our autonomic nervous system. We pick that up, and our ability to do so much of this sensing and understanding that we have in the world comes from our ability to generate fields and be so sensitive to them. And it's really a beautiful property of piezoelectric charge in the fascia.
I just had these thoughts and wonderings about the type of piezoelectric energy that happens when we walk on grass and the beach where it's all sand and silica and quartz,
Well,
which you add
yes.
pressure to those and
And they're also, and I like that you say bare feet, which tells me you've been doing a lot of good earthing lately, which I love. And it's another really fascinating thing to consider is our electromagnetic field, right? So we also have electromagnetic field that is generated out of the heart. If you're to take a look at what does the body's electromagnetic field look like, it's kind of like a spinning donut of electricity. It's got a vortex straight through the center, in through the crown of the head, out through the pelvic floor, and the center of the vortex is the beating human heart. And it generates this beautiful electric field. All living things on the planet have it, not just mammals and stuff like that, but plants have them. The earth itself, the reason why the earth can withstand all of the solar radiation is because of its electromagnetic field. And the interesting thing is we're all tuned to the same frequency. The electromagnetic field of the earth is the frequency of all of our electromagnetic fields. So it's actually been proven that when you take your shoes off and you put your bare feet on the ground, the earth's electromagnetic field will regulate your electromagnetic field. It can patch holes, so to speak, in some of the energy studies that they've done, which is crazy to see, where you see them actually like hook these electrodes up and show an electromagnetic field. And they show in certain people how, well, it's not solid. There's a gap here and a gap there. And they can show that certain people have
I want to.
disturbances.
Do you have a link to this? Because
You know
that.
what? I used to. We had a woman in our wellness center that I used to have in Maple Ridge who was a specialist in this. And she worked actually for the health authority. She was something that is actually that big now that it is included in traditional medicine practices. And so she actually had an incredible amount of information on it. She was just fascinating to talk to. So I'll reach out to her and see if she can show me where the images that she showed me were, because
Geez.
they were pretty
Yeah,
spectacular.
or even if you know like keywords that we could do some rabbit holing ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, electromagnetic field therapy would be
Okay.
the topic. It would be electromagnetic field therapy. There's quite a few of them now. It's getting quite popular. But the wonderful thing about it is there's all these crazy expensive technologies for it, but actually the planet does it for free. And just taking the time to take your shoes off. They say 15 minutes of barefoot contact with the ground, because it doesn't just regulate the electromagnetic field, it also detoxes the body. And when you put your bare feet on the ground, you start sending a huge amount of your body's free radicals out, and you start soaking up all of the stuff that allows us to fight inflammation in the body. We literally are just exchanging electrons out of the feet as it happens. And in 15 minutes, you can create an anti inflammatory effect up to your knees. If you got like ankle arthritis or knee pain, 15 minutes. If you spend 30 minutes, you'll get it up to your pelvis. It takes an hour for it to reach an anti inflammatory effect all the way to the crown of the head. But if you get naked and lay down on the ground, because you have so much more skin, all of your skin does this. This is not just a foot thing. All of the skin is conducting.
Receptors. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you
Yeah.
get naked and lay flat down, it takes 15 minutes to do the whole body.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing effect. And they say it's, one of those small things that we should be doing every day, because as humans, this is how our nervous system and our immune system and our whole communication system of how to be in the environment, it evolved to have bare feet. The feet are major sensory organs. As far
Oh,
as
yeah.
organ development goes, like embryological development of organs, all of your sense organs form on a specific day on a little band they call the Wolffian Ridge. It's just this teeny little ridge that shows up for a day or two, and you're still basically a blob. You're not even looking like a human at this point. You're still basically a little disc of some sort. And for about a day, this ridge shows up, and it is what develops all of the sense organs, right? Your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, your nipples, your genitals, your hands, and your feet, because the feet and the hands are sensory organs. They're designed to provide a massive amount of information to the nervous system about the environment and what's going on and what's going on in the planet, what's going on in the environment, what's going on in the temperature. And so when we take our feet and we just block them in shoes all day, it's like having noise canceling earmuffs on all day. Right? But
Oh,
more
don't say noise
noise canceling
cancellation.
earmuffs
Gee.
and a blindfold, really, for the amount that's coming through those. It's a lot. So, we take our shoes off and we connect them to the planet. Not only do we detox and create anti inflammatory effects for our body, but we also take in a huge amount of information about where we are, right? Where we live in the environment that surrounds us.
And two, this reminds me of a breathing exercise. I believe I have it in my shorts, and it's the please and thank you. And the
Love
idea,
that breathing exercise.
thank you. And yeah, my idea is when we release, like even do visualizations for release, that not only is our out breath the in breath for the plants, but here we go. The shit that we release to the earth is her fertilizer to fuel everything around us. It's a transmutation of sorts.
Well,
So,
and it's interesting, right? Because we think in yogic terms, right? How you say, well, yeah, the trees provide what we need, which is our oxygen and our nourishment, right? Plants provide this to us. In yoga, we would call this prana. Everybody just translates prana as like life force energy, but specifically in yogic philosophy, prana is inwards moving energy, right? It's not our life force energy. Prana is the acknowledgement that the energy that moves from nature into us is what animates us and gives us life. And they would use the term apana as everything, the outward going energy, our exhalation, taking a shit, right? Anything that moves sweating, right? Anything
yeah,
that is pushing things out of the body, our outwards moving energy, would be called apana. And if you take a
okay,
look at, well, what does our planet need? What do our plants need? They need our apana as much as we need their prana, right? We're so intimately connected to nature that way.
please and thank you. Yes,
Please and
yes.
thank you. I did your please and thank you breathing exercise online, and I absolutely loved it. I'm a nature lover supreme, so that really
Oh,
resonated with me.
yeah, yeah, we know this about the nature loving too. And oh, I forgot to mention that you're absolutely brilliant. And I wanted to just get that in there. The conversations that we have, they're incredible and they tangent. And we could probably talk about everything from foraging to dehydrating to woo to
To fascia, to polyvagal theory, to contemplating the reality of the universe and life itself. You can do it all here on Lisa's channel.
I think we could do that all in this episode because that's kind of what happened through.
What happens when Lisa and I get together? It starts with,
Oh,
how are you doing? And it ends up in like some deep philosophical conversation.
and I love it. And thank you for sharing your energy with us, Erin. Um, Now people can see what an incredible guru you are. Your absolute vast knowledge in therapeutic yoga, what to do, why you're doing it, and you let us know all of that in it. You have a library on your site with past classes. You have a couple of courses. One is vagal, polyvagal.
Mhm.
And what was the other one?
We had a therapeutic mobility course that we did a little while ago of helping people take the step from a therapeutic practice into a more traditional movement practice for yoga. So it's kind of like the
Okay.
bridge. We found we had so many people healing so well that they were ready for a more challenging, right? Ready to get into the strengthening. And what I always say
Okay.
with healing the body is start with healing, right? There are some injuries that right away they're not that severe, or this or that, and strengthening is really what's needed. But I feel like what a lot of people miss in their healing process, both for physical injuries, but also very importantly for mental health stuff that's going on, is we tend to just leave the part where the fascia needed repair and we go straight to, I need to build more muscle. And if you start packing muscle into dysfunctional fascia, you very likely might have a bigger problem on your hands. Because if the fascia can't function in the first place, and now it's becoming bogged down with dysfunctional muscle that's growing in a compensatory way, right? It's not the way the body was designed to move. And rather than fix that dysfunctional fascia, we say, well, I'm just going to start lifting some weights, going for a run. I'm going to do my core and my hip stabilizers because that's the answer to everything. And that's all you do. Then are you actually able to move the body the way it needed to? Or did you have to create a compensation to that fascial dysfunction that's now creating an imbalance in the musculature? So this is where my theory differs from some theories out there. And again, there's a lot of ways. And one of my favorite quotes from Bodhidharma is many roads lead to the path, but basically there are two: reason and practice. So, there's a lot of ways to go about healing, but the reason and the practice, right? There needs to be a theory and there needs to be, most important, an action. And I feel like if there's an efficient action where we actually recognize the nature of the fascia and how important it is. If your fascia is hydrated, healthy, it's got an established piezoelectric charge, water can flow through it properly, and it has a very good level of structured water around it, chances are you are healing and strengthening and everything just fine. Right? When the fascia is healthy, exercise and strengthening, you heal faster, you build more muscle from it, and that becomes a more functional body. All right. Whereas if your fascia is messed up and you start strengthening, you're going to get strong a lot slower. You're going to be much more prone to injury. And you're risking building a strength that's compensatory to the natural movement of the body, which in turn, compensation leads to further compensation, which leads to
I
wear
love
and
it.
tear on the body, right? So if we can address the fascia first, people love it. It's funny. You think, like, to me, making me do push-ups and sit-ups is torture. But if you ask people to just like, I'm just gonna like be mean to you and count, like, no, no, five more, five more. People will push through that extra five, that extra 10, that they'll do their push-ups and sit-ups at home. You ask them to hold a 5 minute stretch. It's like, oh, I just didn't have the time in the day to do it. It was just, oh, it was way too intense, that 5 minutes of stretching. Right. But actually, the stretching is what would have got us there way faster. But sometimes it's a lot harder to sit through the stillness and the discomfort of fixing your fascia. Whereas when we get into these kind of more vigorous things, we can kind of tune out, lock into the no pain, no gain, right? So that's a weird thing that we have about, like, if we're like suffering really hard physically through it, it's like it drives you to push harder. But if you're asked to just like be still and really relaxed and soft, it's really difficult for people to sit through that experience. And so learning to sit through discomfort in the fascia not only heals it, but it teaches us to deal with discomfort in life, right? Like everything, right? The mind and the body are one. And if you are the type of person who can't handle mental discomfort, and everything triggers you, you're super sensitive, right? Somebody just completely didn't even mean it that way, but like suddenly you're having a panic attack through the roof, your nervous system is so tuned and sensitive, right? Well, it's usually a sign of having a difficult time sitting through some uncomfortable stuff that's happened or is happening in life. And when we learn to first sit through discomfort in the body, that reverberates through the entire structure, and it makes us better at becoming still and working through discomfort in all areas of life. So I think fascia teaches us all of the lessons that our mental health needs. And a therapeutic practice to me is a better place to start working on your health necessarily than the gym. Although once your fascia is healthy and fixed, it feels good to do that work. We naturally want to start moving better. We naturally will start to progress and have it feel like something that's enjoyable. So I'm always a big fan of start with your therapeutics because they'll enhance every other type of yoga, every other type of sport, and really everything we do in life.
I can attest to that. There's been a huge difference since I've come back to the practice because I used to practice years ago, but now that I've come back to the practice, it's like there's something about me, and even something about me that brings my cat to come join me while I'm doing my yoga. So, Erin, thank you so much. Everybody, this is Erin of Centered Within Yoga. This is her energy. This is her philosophies. Please visit her website and sign up. Classes once again. So thank you. Oh, Erin, I almost forgot the most important part. Erin was
I
like,
thought I was
oh,
going to get
yay,
away
she's not going to
scot-free here
ask.
on the hard question.
The imperative question, and I am. Oh my goodness. that was close escape. What does I am mean to you,
Oh,
Erin?
Lisa, I love this. And Lisa told me, and obviously I watched the channel and I've seen the other ones. And, I really had to think about this week. Normally, if you just, most people ask me anatomy questions and I can just answer, no problem. But, the topic of what does I am mean? And mean to me or mean in general? It's a difficult question. It's a really big question. And something I've noticed because I've been doing a lot of interviews lately, both being interviewed and interviewing people, is amazingly, most people have such a defined answer for this. And as I really got thinking about who am I mean to me, I had to really stop and think about it. And, I think the best I could come up with is, I'm just a simple person. I'm like a humble liver of life. I feel that each of us is here to learn things, right? That life is right, who are we is more of a potential than a concrete thing. And that was really the word that came to me, is potential, because I really do believe that all of us at our core, that's our gift. That's what life is, right? It's an opportunity filled with potential. And how we choose to use that potential, that's really no one else's choice. That's something that we have to decide and we have to direct. And we might not always have control over the experiences, right? Life is always going to hand us things that are challenging and things that we wouldn't have chosen for ourselves. But in every moment of life, even the worst, darkest, traumatic moments of life, there's always choice, because we choose how we show up. We choose how we meet those challenges. We choose how we meet. A lot of times people focus on the challenges, right? Our nervous systems are tuned to detect danger. But also, how do we show up in life from a sense of gratitude? Do we stop and smell the roses? Do we appreciate this incredible complexity of life? I mean, here I am, 70 trillion individual cells, all somehow bound together into this one experience that is me, of who I am. And we're on this journey together, me and these 70,000 little bits of stardust that have taken billions of years to evolve into something that makes possible the experience of me. And, here I am, a walking, talking little piece of the universe who somehow become conscious to ask the question, who am I? And just that process right there, I have nothing else. I don't pretend to be a great guru. I don't pretend to be an enlightened master or know everything or even know what life is and why we're here, or who am I beyond this limited perspective of this little blip of life that I get to enjoy. But something that I choose to be is grateful. And I choose to try and make the most of that, right? It's such a wonderful gift. All of the incredible, awe-inspiring things that make up this world and this life. So if nothing else, I'm the type of person who's grateful to be here and who's really going to do my best to take advantage of every one of those minutes to do as much as I can, to experience as much as I can, to do as many good things to help people and to, bring good things into the world, and just to simply be the kind of person who appreciated that journey instead of spending, that entire journey wishing for something more or something different or something easier or something other than what I have.
Booyah. Uh, it seems almost every episode I end up crying. And yeah, my new mascara has passed the test. Thank you, Erin. That was amazing, beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for sharing and putting thought into it like that and appreciating having to think about it. And I am so glad I remembered to ask. Holy shit balls.
I was like, should I bring
Ah,
it up? Should I just squeak by and skip the hard question?
no,
To
oh,
Alex's question on her interview, and I was like, Oh, wow, that was beautiful. If she's the interview before me, how do you come up onto this interview and beat what Allison had to say?
Well, it's definitely not a competition, and you definitely excelled in the assignment.
Thank you. I'm glad
Oh,
my answer was sufficient.
yes. I'm now speechless again. All right. So now, definitely wrapping this up. Thank you, Erin, so much. Thank you for being an inspiration. Thank you for your ripples, your spark. Go see Erin on her website and come see us for yoga on Wednesdays. So thank you, Erin.
Lisa, thank you so much for having me today. Again, I'm a huge fan of the message on your channel and all the hard work you put into it. It's a real honor to get to be part of all of the great work you're doing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. Until next time, everyone, Dragons and Art Den, I am 2, and we'll see you soon for episode 6. Bye for now.